haven't come across any of my videos before, today's video is going to be a getting back into it flow. So if you've been out of yoga for a little while, but done a little bit before, so you're quite familiar with some of the popular poses that come and show up in most classes, then this is for you. And also if you are new but fit and healthy and strong, then definitely by all means please give it a go. So it will be a continuous flow but quite repetitive, kind of repeating and building. So if you are new to yoga and it feels really strange at first, then hopefully by the end it will feel good. And if you're getting back into it after a while away, again, hopefully it will feel challenging but not too challenging. So we'll begin immediately just standing at the front of our mats, getting straight into it. I believe the camera's going to cut my arms off, so if my arms go above my head, assume today that palms are coming together. So from here, we'll just begin standing in mountain pose or Tadasana. So feet about hip width apart and just engaging through your legs. So you start to tone the thighs, standing up tall but allow your shoulders to relax and soften down the back. Lightly engaging your tummy, so you're standing with intention here, but also just beginning to relax and bring your awareness to your breathing. So as you inhale, breathe into the belly and take your breath right up into the chest, and then long, slow exhales. So just a few deep breaths, just standing still here. You can close your eyes if that helps you to center yourself. And so if you are new to yoga, the reason that we focus on the breath is because usually when we're not thinking about our breathing, we can breathe shallowly, or sometimes we can breathe quite irregularly, and actually the breath affects our mood and our mental state. So as soon as we start to slow and deepen our breathing, then so the mind slows and the nervous system calms down, and then we can move from a space of calm and from a purposeful place, a place of intention. So we'll just take 5 more full deep breaths here. Expanding the belly, breathing out into the rib cage and up into the chest, and then slow exhales, just allowing each exhale to be a release of any negativities from your day, a release of any residual tension that you might be holding around the shoulders or your jawline. And so then in this getting back into it practice, or beginning practice if it's your first one ever, then we'll just bring our awareness to something called Sthiram Sukham, or trying to teeter along the balance of strength and ease. So when you're ready from here, taking a big inhale breath, circle the arms out wide, bring the palms a touch above the head. And as you exhale, start to swan dive forward, so reach the arms out wide, keep the spine nice and long, all the way forward. You can always bend your knees here, especially for the first one, just softening at the knees. And just release the weight of your head and allow your arms to hang here. From this place, when you're ready, you can either bring your fingertips to the floor beside your feet or hands to shins to give you more support. On an inhale breath, lift the chest halfway up and shrug your shoulders down the back. As you breathe out, step your left foot to the back of your mat, lowering the back knee down. So beginning here with that front knee stacking over the heel. And then once you're nice and steady on your feet, inhaling, circle the arms out wide, stretching them overhead. Exhaling just to sit the hips forward and squeeze your elbows towards each other, so you're keeping a sense of intention through the arms as well, rather than kind of just dangling here. Taking one more inhale breath, and then exhale, lower the palms down and step your way back into plank pose. And then our first plank pose, we'll just hold for about 4 deep breaths. So again, if you're coming back from injury or if you have any lower back issues, just lower the knees here and modify. Still engaging the belly, keeping the arms as straight as you comfortably can, and if your knees are up, squeezing your thighs as well. And so just getting into flow with breath and movement now, taking one more inhale at the top. On the exhale, we'll lower through our first chaturanga, so let the chest come forward, keep the chest nice and proud, shoulders shrugging on the back, hovering just above the ground, and then lower slowly all the way down to your belly. Point the toes, squeeze the thighs, inhaling, peel the chest up, Just a tiny cobra for the first one. On the exhale, we'll sit the bum back to the heels for child's pose. And just take 3 breaths here. So if your arms feel tired at any point through the flow, then child's pose is your rest position. And so we'll build our way into a little modified flow here. So on your next inhale breath, rounding forward to all fours. Exhale, let the chest lead you down through that modified chaturanga now and all the way down to your belly. Pointing your toes, inhale to lift the chest, shoulders back. Exhaling, tuck the toes and sit the hips back to the heels, and we'll just keep moving and breathing. So inhaling, rounding forward through the spine, and then exhaling, slowly lower through. Keep your elbows hugging into your ribs all the way through. Point your toes, squeeze the thighs as you press the pubic bone down, shrugging the shoulders back. Exhaling, tuck the toes and sit back. Last one like this, inhaling, rounding forward to all fours. Exhaling, let the chest lead you down, keep shrugging the shoulder blades down the back. Inhaling, drawing the chest forward. Exhaling, this time as you tuck your toes under, we'll press the hips all the way up and back, finding our way into our first downward facing dog. So here in downward dog, searching for as much length and space through the spine as is humanly possible for your body. So pushing the hips as far back as you go, and in order to do that you kind of push from the arms, so the arms push as straight as they can go. Moving the hips back, and if it comes to that resistance point in your legs, whether you're tight in your calves or your hamstrings, you can always soften at the knees in order to press the hips a bit further back, rather than kind of being rounded forward with straight legs here, which is putting a lot more pressure on your arms and your shoulders. And we want to really reserve energy for the whole of the practice. So staying for 2 more deep breaths here. When you're ready then, inhaling to lengthen your left heel out behind you, coming into 3-legged dog. Keep squeezing that left thigh. And as you exhale, again with intention, squeeze the knee in towards the belly as you almost come forward into a plank pose, stepping the foot through. Lower the back knee down, finding that knee over heel in the front leg. Inhale, arms stretch up. Exhaling, sitting the hips forward, and we'll keep the toes of the back foot tucking under to start with. Taking 1 more inhale breath. Exhaling, release the hands and step in. Inhale, lifting the chest halfway up, just like we did on the way through. Exhaling to fold, bend at your knees if you need to. Breathing in, rise all the way up, big full body stretch, palms to touch at the top, and then exhaling, hands come to prayer at the center of the chest. So we'll just flow that again on the other side. When you're ready, inhaling, arms stretch up. Exhale, swan dive through, flat back all the way down. Inhale, lift the chest halfway up. Exhaling, right toe step all the way back this time, lowering the back knee down. Breathing in, stretching up. Exhaling, lower the palms forward, stepping your way back into plank pose. Squeezing the belly and the thighs, big inhale breath. Exhaling, lower through chaturanga. So if this time you can hover, then hover, or lower to your tummy. Inhaling, upward facing dog. So now hip bones leave the floor, thighs stay really strong. Exhaling, tummy muscles squeeze you back to downward facing dog. Taking 5. When you're ready from here, taking a big inhale breath to kick your right heel to the ceiling, lengthening out through that back leg. On the exhale, chest comes forward as you squeeze the knee through and step in. Lowering the back knee down, keeping the toes tucking under. Inhaling, rising up, lifting from the back of the heart. Exhaling, hands come forward and step in. Inhaling, lifting halfway up, making space for the breath. Exhale, release and fold in. Inhaling, rising all the way up, big full body stretch, palms touch at the top. Exhaling, hands come down to prayer. From here, when you're ready, inhale, bend the knees, sink the hips low as you reach the arms high, coming into chair pose, Utkatasana. We'll stay here a few deep breaths, so sitting there, weight of the bum back, like you're going to sit down into a chair and you stopped at a hover. And then from this place, actively engage your belly And then see if you can lift the chest a teeny bit higher. Keep reaching out through the fingertips. Taking one more big inhale breath. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift up through the chest. Exhaling, place the hands stepping or hopping your way back now through to Chaturanga. Breathing in, press your way up into upward facing dog, shrugging the shoulders back and down. Exhaling, roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Taking just a few deep breaths here. So really treating down dog as your check-in place. So if you do lose your breath or if your heart rate heightens and you lose that awareness, then this is your place to kind of slow down and recenter your breathing. When you're ready from here, taking a big breath in, lengthen that right heel to the ceiling behind you. And as you exhale with intention, place that foot forward between the hands, turning the back heel down now. So back heel will stay at a diagonal line to the back of your mat. Breathing in to rise up, warrior one. So palms to touch here is much more challenging than arms apart. So if you're tight in your shoulders, you can keep your arms a little wider so you have more of a Y shape through the arms. Otherwise, you can bring the palms together and squeeze your elbows, again, as if you were trying to squeeze your ears between your upper arm bones. Keep squaring the torso forward as much as you can, almost like you're drawing your front hip back and your back hip forward, so your pelvis is square crossways. Taking one more inhale breath, and then exhale, release the palms down, step your way back to plank pose. Big breath in at the top, exhale, you can always drop your knees to your tummy or to a hover. Inhaling, pressing up, draw the chest forward, keep the thighs really strongly engaged here. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Good, taking a couple of deep breaths. If you like to practice to music, it's probably a bit late in this particular video if it's the first time you're watching, but you can also find my account on Spotify, and I've got tons of really nice yoga playlists on there. So Kerry Louise Curson on Spotify. And you can always then play some tunes along to your practice here. So coming to the left side when you're ready, nice slow flow. Inhaling, kicking your left heel high. Exhaling, stepping that foot gently between the hands, back heel turns down. Breathing in to rise up. Breathing out to sink into the front thigh. So just as far as is comfortable, it doesn't need to be parallel with the floor for warrior one because it's much more challenging on getting that nice square pelvis. So make this your focus, that twisting motion forward. So really trying to square the body off, pressing strongly through the back foot. So you're really digging that back heel down into the floor, pressing through the outside edge of the back foot. One more big inhale breath, and use the exhale to release you through your vinyasa. So you can either skip it to down dog, otherwise lowering all the way through. Big inhale to rise up into your back bend. Exhaling, roll over the toes down, facing dog. So breathing here, if you need an extra release for the neck, if you hold tension here, you can tuck your chin in towards your collarbones and just take a couple of breaths holding that stretch. So that's also quite stimulating for the thyroid gland if you have any issues here, otherwise known as Jalandhara Bandha. So you're engaging that throat lock by tucking your chin in towards your collarbones. When you're ready from here now for this first one, we'll just tiptoe the feet forward to the hands. Inhale to lift halfway up and exhale to fold in. Coming back to chair pose. As you breathe in, bend the knees, sweep the arms forward and up. Breathing out, sit the weight back into the heels. Good, so I've adopted Kali Mudra this time to help me get that something to resist into. So interlacing all of the fingers in my hands except for the index finger and the thumb, and using that to really point out through the index finger, squeezing the elbows together. Taking one more inhale breath here. This time on the exhale, we're going to twist to the right, so try to keep your knees in line with each other as you twist. So actively twisting here. You might find that you need to, in order to keep your knees together, stay at a hover to start with. Otherwise you can hook the left elbow over the right knee. And if you're there, then you can dig the elbow down, press your palms together, turning your chest, gaze up to the ceiling. stay for 2 more deep breaths. When you're ready then, using an inhale to bring you back to center, exhaling to fold forward. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhaling, placing the palms, stepping or jumping your way back through Chaturanga, breathing in to rise up, keeping the body strong in all areas. Exhaling back, down dog. So this time we have the option to walk in again or jump in, and I know my first jump is always really heavy. So trying to trust in the strength of your arms as much as you can. This will lighten up your feet and your hips as you hop forward, and using your gaze as well. So now from here, if you want to play with jumping, you can. Otherwise, you're just going to walk your feet forward. But to play with that little hop forward, as you inhale, come up onto your tippy toes, gaze to the front of your mat. Then on the exhale, load your spring, bending the knees, hopping up and jump forward. So it might be lighter each time you do it, or it might be clunky and heavy for a long while to come, but it's quite a nice thing to practice to build confidence in your hands and strength in your arms. From here, inhale to bend the knees, sweep the arms up, chair pose. Keep the hips and knees together as you exhale to twist to the left. So staying nice and active, hovering if you need to in order to keep that integrity of your spine and by keeping your hips nice and still. Otherwise, if it's comfy, finding that balance between strength and ease. So challenging yourself, finding that kind of edge point of your comfort zone, but not pushing so hard that the breath is restricted or that it creates frustration or tension within. So really press the elbow down into the knee if you're there comfortably, using that to resist the palms into each other, turning your chest. As long as it doesn't create issues for the neck, the gaze is up towards the ceiling. When you're ready, inhaling your way back to center. And quite a nice place now to introduce crow pose. So from here, I'll talk it through as if you've never done it before, but if you have, just come straight in and play with the balance. So from this already kind of squatting position, think chaturanga arms, so that idea of hugging your elbows in towards the body. And that creates the shelf then for your knees to rest upon. You can always, if you are practicing at home, which you probably are if you've got this, have a pillow in front of you to help you face any fear issues with falling. Once you have that shelf for your arms, tipping the weight forward, but keep, as if you're trying to keep your chest proud, so keep looking up and ahead of you. Squeeze your finger pads into the floor, so not the tips of your fingers, but the pads of your fingers, so the middle knuckles lift here, and it gives your hands something there to rock into. So slowly bring the knees to the back of the arms, squeeze the hands into the floor, picking the heels up or just teeter on the tip of one big toe. And if you can, grab some balance here, just taking about 3 to 5 breaths. Everything keeps squeezing, so elbows squeeze in together, keep squeezing the heels into the bum, she says. And then from this, we'll exit as slowly and as controlled as you can into Malasana or Yogi Squat. So it's quite nice to have a play around with getting the hips nice and open here then. So my heels don't comfortably come down to the floor here, although they will eventually when you can kind of, if they do there. But it takes me a couple of breaths or a couple of minutes. So to begin with, your heels might be up high, that's fine. But playing with a little bit of side to side motion is quite nice. So as you're here, you're just kind of resting. So one heel can drop as you kind of take weight out of that leg, and you can use the elbow, just pressing on the inner thigh to open that hip. And then switching the weight, so weight into the other foot, elbow opens that hip here. So you're not rotating at the knee at all, you're pressing on the inner thigh, so the rotation is at the hip joint, not at the knee. And so then you may find with a few breaths, kind of rocking side to side like this, you can get the stance wide enough. Please don't worry about cracking knees because they crack all the time. You can get the stance wide enough that maybe your heels come down, again, as long as that's not creating discomfort in the knees. Otherwise, you can always roll a mat under the heels. It's a really nice position to play with. And traditionally, the kind of human way to sit is with the feet more parallel, yogi squats. Sometimes the feet a little more turned out. So just finding what's most comfortable for your body here. Taking one more big breath in, and then as you exhale, just parallel off your feet and fold forward. So slightly wider stance in your forward fold this time. So now we're a little warmer here. We'll make this a more active stretch. So again, depending on where you are with your hamstring and your back flexibility, you can either just hold on to the back of the calves, or more traditionally, your peace fingers wrap around the inner edges of your big toes. You can still do this with a bend in your knees. So as you inhale, lift the chest halfway up, and then breathing out, folding in. And think here like trying to bring your belly more in towards your thighs, head down towards the floor. So it's not a kind of rounding and just kind of trying to force the spine here. If you need that bend to get rid of this, bending will sometimes give you a little more of a drape, and then maybe you just hold here, closing the belly in towards the thighs. So again, trying not to think about the end point of the pose, finding the edge of your own comfort zone without forcing the body into such a discomfort that you're going beyond its internal messages of saying, hey, you need to stop. You need to stop at this point. So it's just listening to those sensations, especially in forward folds. If you feel it up in your sitting bones, then back out. And you want to keep it really in the center of the hamstring here. Inhaling to lift the chest halfway up. As you exhale, soften at the knees, place the palms, stepping or jumping your way back through to Chaturanga. Inhaling, rising up, and then exhale back, down facing dog. We'll say just 3 breaths here. So I'm going to teach both of these standing flows on my left, so you can see me happily, but I'll instruct you from side to side. So we'll start on our right leg now. As you breathe in, kicking your right heel to the ceiling behind you, exhaling, stepping that foot forward between the hands. So this time we'll come up into a high lunge, breathing in, lifting the arms up. So now we're on the ball of the back foot. So as you exhale, maybe now you can sink a little bit deeper into the front thigh. So again, tighter shoulders, arms can stay in that nice wider position. If you're a little more comfy to press the palms together here, then it just works the strength of the shoulder girdle. So here now, tucking the tailbone gently forward, still trying to keep the pelvis as square as you can. Lifting the chest, so finding a little active back bend now. Staying really strong through the back leg. Taking one more inhale breath, and then as you exhale now, we're going to spin on the back foot parallel with the back edge of your mat now. As you come into Warrior Two, front thigh sinks parallel with the ground. So from here, legs stay still as you can, keeping that depth in the front leg. Inhale, turn the front palm to face the ceiling, exhaling back, reverse warrior. Back hand is just sliding down the back thigh, reaching, stretching through the fingertips of that top arm. And I just did it there, so that front thigh sometimes follows you back, so keep sitting into that front leg. On your next inhale breath, we'll cartwheel the arms through Warrior Two. Exhaling, you can either stop with that front elbow resting onto the front thigh, or you can start to slide that bottom hand down the leg. So wherever you're at, again, keeping the integrity of the pose. So if you start to find that you're caving into this position in order for your hand to be here, then stay here so that your chest can remain nice and open, the breath can move freely. Good, so just working the stamina of the pose by staying and holding here. So you can stay in this position, or if it's good for this shoulder, starting to reach and extend that arm overhead, in which case your gaze point can move to the palm of the hand. Almost as if then you are trying to make the bottom half of your belly turn to face the ceiling. So you almost get that twisting motion, still strengthening through the tummy. Inhaling, cartwheel your arms back through Warrior Two. As you exhale, straighten the front leg, extend, lengthen forward, and then let the arms turn sideways for triangle pose. So again, keep the chest nice and open. So even for myself, I've been practicing a long time, but it takes me a good few breaths for that hand to comfortably go low. So keep the chest open. And then just stay and explore the pose. So lifting up from the waistline. Keep drawing the shoulder blades together on the back. Softening into that front knee, we'll rise back up into triangle pose. Then as you exhale from here, we'll lower the hands gently forward, pivoting onto the toes of the back foot, stepping your way back into plank pose. Big inhale, breath at the top. Exhale to lower through. So hovering or to your belly, breathing in, lift the chest, roll the shoulders back. Exhaling, down facing dog. So slowing your breath, come to child's pose if you need a break. We'll find our way into a little twist here in downward facing dog. So it might help to shorten your stance a little bit. So just stepping the feet in one step. And then really grounding down through the left palm. When you're ready, we'll reach the right hand over to the outside edge of the left leg. So you can be holding higher up the shin, or if the hand comfortably reaches, grabbing more towards the ankle. And then using that arm as you turn and twist, so you can take a little bend at the elbow there. And that gives you a nice stretch between the shoulder blades and really strong through your standing arm. When you're ready, inhale your way back to center and then exhaling, switching sides. So finding a grip point that works for you, so maybe that's higher up the leg or further down. Turning your gaze, looks underneath your standing arm. Using your inhale breath to return you to center. Exhaling, wriggle your feet back to your normal down dog stance. When you're ready from here, big breath in, kicking the left heel high. Exhaling, stepping that foot forward between the hands. We'll find our way up onto high lunge, into high lunge when you're ready. Sinking into that front leg. Squaring the pelvis, find that little tuck of the tailbone forward as you lift the chest and arch back. So as you do that, notice if that back leg gives way. Keep strong through the back leg here. One more inhale breath. And then exhaling, open wide, warrior two. Sinking into the front thigh. As you inhale, opening the front palm, exhaling back, reverse warrior. Finding a gaze point that helps keep you focused as we stay a little longer. And if you feel the burn, then just working on breathing into that burn, so you find a sense of sweetness, a sense of ease in that place of strain and that place of strength. Using your next inhale breath, we'll cartwheel the arms through, warrior two. Exhaling, straighten the front leg, reach and lengthen, opening the arms wide, triangle pose. So again, if it needs to be up here, hold up just underneath the knee, or even on the front thigh, just keeping a softness to that front knee if you need to hold a little higher up. Chest remains open, lift up from the waist. Using your next inhale, soften into that front knee, rising up. This time as you exhale, we'll go hands to hips, heel, toe that back foot in, step forward. When you're ready from here, we'll add it all together so far. Inhaling, bending the knees, sweep the arms forward and up. Exhale, sitting low. Lifting from the chest. Taking one more inhale breath. Exhaling, hands come down to prayer, twisting to the right. Hips and knees stay even. Hovering or hooking the elbow over the knee. Press the palms together to twist. Shrugging that back shoulder back and down. Gaze is up if it's good for the neck. If not, you can look to the floor. So when you're ready from here, using your next inhale breath to come back to center. This time as you exhale, we're going to tip the weight over into the right foot. Start to pick the left heel up. And just take a couple of breaths here. Again, find a drishti point, somewhere to focus your gaze. One more inhale, and then as you exhale, we're going to slowly start to tip forward. So we move through warrior three. Just a couple of breaths here. Back leg stays focused. So still strengthening through that back thigh. And then bending as deeply as you can into this front leg, stepping as lightly as is possible back into your lunge position. Inhaling, arms rise up. Exhale, sit into the front thigh. One more breath in here. Exhaling, cartwheel the arms open, warrior two. So gaze is forward, breathing in, open that front palm, breathing out, reverse warrior. Sitting low into the front thighs, you reach back through that top arm. Inhale, arms come up and over. Exhaling, side angle pose. Front elbow can rest the front thigh. If it's comfy on the shoulder, top arm can reach and extend overhead. Inhaling, coming back to warrior two. This time, on the exhale, we're going to start to head into half moon pose, Ardha Chandrasana. So back hand can come to the hip to rest to start with. Front hand steps diagonally off from the front foot, and then we're going to rock the weight forward. So very similar to side angle and triangle pose, in that the back toes turn to face the side wall, so that back foot is in the same position as it was in warrior two. So keeping that hip nice and open. You can always have this front hand on a block, or eventually the fingertips can float away from the floor. Again, working into that back shoulder, so roll it back away from the floor. Top arm can extend towards the ceiling if it's comfy. If it aggravates anything going on in this back shoulder, keep the hand here. One more inhale breath. Exhaling, release, forward fold, and just drape here. Bending the knees if you need to, holding the forearms. Let the head dangle nice and heavy. Releasing the hands, coming back to chair pose, inhaling, bend the knees, sweep the arms forward and up. Exhaling, sit in the hips low. Starting to rock the weight over into your left foot as you bring the hands down to prayer at the centre of the chest. Picking the right heel up, got hair in my mouth. Right heel up. A couple of breaths here. Slowly starting to tip forward, moving through warrior three. So just a couple of breaths in this T-shape. Back foot can flex or point or floint here, so anything that keeps you squeezing happily in that back thigh. Another inhale breath, exhaling, bending deep, tapping lightly back into lunge. Inhale, extending the arms above the head, exhale, sitting low. Finding that little tuck of the tailbone forward as you lift the chest, strong through the back leg. One more breath in, and then breathing out, warrior two. So sometimes in that transition, your stance might be a little wide or you land wonky, so just getting the front heel aligning with the arch of the back foot. Breathing in, open the front palm. Breathing out, reverse warrior. Keep pressing through the outside edge of the back foot. And then on your next inhale breath, cartwheel the arms up and over. Exhaling, side angle pose, your choice. Elbow to thigh or hand slides down. Extending the top arm overhead if it's comfortable. This time coming into half moon pose. So from here, bringing the back hand to the hip. If you went wide in your stance, you can always wriggle that back foot in. And then stepping your left hand diagonally off from the left foot. Rocking the weight forward when you're ready. Back toes turn out. So once you've got the hips comfy, then you're working on that twisting motion from the body. So you're turning the body as open as you can. That helps that back shoulder as you reach and extend the back arm or the hand towards the ceiling. So again, keep squeezing through that back leg. So if you could lean back into a wall here, you'd be in a nice kind of line acrossways. Taking one more inhale breath, exhaling, release, forward fold. Holding the forearms and just allow the weight of the forearms to get lots of space between the vertebrae so that extra weight really lengthens the spine here. Good, so we'll come through one more little standing flow and then we'll ease our way down for floor work. Bring the fingertips to the floor, inhale, halfway lift. Exhaling, bending the knees, and you can either work back through your vinyasa or take one last crow pose. So bending at your knees, let the elbows come into chaturanga arms, and slowly squeeze the fingertips into the floor as you rock the weight forward and pick the heels up. So taking a couple of breaths here in crow pose, squeezing your thighs in towards your belly as much as you can. If you've already moved through the vinyasa, then we'll meet you in down dog. One more inhale breath. Exhale, step or jump back, chaturanga, breathing in. Chest rises up, upward facing dog. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Good. When you're ready, inhaling up onto your tippy toes, gaze is forward. Exhaling, bending the knees and jumping. Inhale, halfway lift up. And exhale to fold. So last revolve chair pose. Inhale, bend the knees, sweeping the arms forward and up. Exhaling to twist to the left. Hooking the elbow if it's comfy or not. Shrugging the left shoulder back and down. Reconnecting to your breathing here. And then inhale back to center, exhale to twist to the right. So this time as you hook the elbow or not, we're going to stay in the twist and slowly pick the left heel up. Gazing to the floor now to help ground you. This time we're going to step gently back into revolved lunge. So now again, finding that movement of pressing the elbow down to turn the chest, gazing back. So you're looking over the right shoulder here. Keep lifting up from the back thigh. And then using the inhale breath to turn you through center. Exhale, open out, warrior two. So last few standing balances now. Slowly now we're going to come into Ardha Chandrasana or half moon pose from warrior two. So starting to reach forward. Lowering the right hand down diagonally of the right foot again. Wriggle that back foot in if it helps you to find balance and stability as you rock into that standing foot. Keep turning the chest open, and maybe this time if you want to challenge your balance, you can turn your gaze to look towards the back hand. So to finish up here, we're going to slowly release the left fingertips down to the floor. Squaring off the hips now, so now the toes of the back foot turn to face the ground. As you inhale, lifting the chest up, so body is parallel with the legs. Twisting from the belly, and this time then the right arm will reach up. A really challenging pose. So again, trying to roll from the shoulder to open up here. Keep lifting the back heel high. Taking 2 more breaths. And then release, standing split. So keeping the left fingertips grounded here, you can always use this right hand now to wrap around the back of the right calf and draw your chest in as you lift the back heel high. One more inhale breath. Exhale, release, forward fold, hold the forearms. Drape and rest. Good, so last revolve chair pose of our practice. Inhaling, bend the knees, sweeping the arms up. Exhale to sit the hips low. Good, one more inhale breath. Exhaling, revolving to the right. Using your next inhale breath to come back to center. Exhale to twist to the left. So this time, as you hook the knee or not with the elbow, we're going to start to tip the weight over into the left foot, right heel picks up. Slowly stepping your way back into a high lunge or a twisted lunge on the left side. Feeling strong, lifting up from the back thigh And then using your next inhale breath to swoop through center, exhale, open wide, warrior two, sink low. Inhale, open the front palm, exhaling back, reverse warrior, reach, lengthen through the side of the body. And then as you inhale, we're going to cartwheel straight through warrior two this time, half moon pose. Reach, extend forward, fingertips sprinkle to the floor, rocking into that front leg, and then opening up the back side of the body. So gaze can stay down, or if you're feeling really smug, you can turn and look deshi towards the backhand. And then return your gaze down to the floor, squaring off your hips this time, so back toes turn to face the ground. Inhaling, finding that twist again, so initiating the twist from the belly. And again, backhand can remain on the hip, or the arm extends towards the ceiling. One more big inhale breath, exhaling, release down, standing split. Lifting the back leg as high as you comfortably can whilst keeping your pelvis neutral. So we're not opening the hip here, we're keeping the hips square, so we're moving from the strength of that back leg lifting up. Maybe the left hand can wrap around the back of the left calf as you lift the heel up here. So not worrying so much about the aesthetic of the pose, but feeling your way through it. So feeling the stretch here, bend if it's too strong. Feeling the strength of the back leg. If you're not feeling it, then lift higher. One more inhale breath, exhale, release, forward fold. Hold the elbows, 2 breaths. From here then we'll interlace the hands behind the back, drawing the elbows as straight as you comfortably can, rolling the chest open, so you roll the front tips of the shoulders back as you lift the hands away from the bum. Breathing in, and as you breathe out, release the palms down. Inhale to lift the chest halfway up. Exhaling, stepping or jumping your way back through Chaturanga. Inhale, lifting into upward facing dog. If you can, exhale, tuck the toes, come back to Chaturanga. Inhale to press up to plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breathing in, round forward, coming to plank pose. This time, as slow as you can, we're going to lower all the way down to our tummy. Shrugging the shoulders back. Staying in control as much as you can. Knees can drop down. And then here we are. Moving into some belly back bends now. Heading towards the close of our practice. So from here we're going to sprinkle the fingertips off the edges of your mat, so it just gives you a wider stance through your arms, helping you to get more access into your upper back and your shoulders. So from here, again, using the strength of your fingers, gripping into the floor, strong through the thighs, so pressing all 10 toes down into the floor, including your pinky toes, so you feel your kneecaps lift up. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and down as you inhale, then circle the shoulders back, peeling up through the spine, lifting, lengthening through the crown of the head. Keep that squeeze in the shoulders. Drawing the chest forward, taking 2 more breaths. Keep the strength of the thighs, strength of the tummy supporting you here. And then as you exhale, slowly curling down. And then we'll just flow that twice more. Press down through the feet, strong through the thighs. Inhaling, peeling up, searching for fluidity in your spine. So moving slowly, exhale, roll down. So the arms, tummy and back muscles work together to find that rolling, that waving motion. Inhale, thighs, pelvis presses down as you peel up. Squeeze the shoulder blades together on the back, squeeze the bum, and then exhale, curling down. Arms sweep back, palms float, turning the palms down as you inhale, lifting the chest, shrug the shoulders down. Keeping the gaze pretty neutral here, so as you look down to your mat, the back of the neck is nice and long rather than tensing and creating compression in the neck here. As you inhale, lift the feet, take 2 more breaths. stack the hands forward, come down to rest, rock the hips, encouraging the lower back to relax between repetitions. So bow pose next, starting really active. So again, if it's not quite accessible to grab for the toes just yet, you have an option to play with while you work that flexibility and mobility. So here we're coming more from mobility, so the range of motion that's born from strength rather than the external force of grabbing the foot or feet. So as you lift the chest here, like we did previously, we're just going to reach the hands behind us, squeezing your heels in towards your bum, reaching back. So again, working the strength of the lower back, strength of the shoulder girdle as you stretch back. Taking 2 more breaths, and then come down and rest. Walking the hips. Second repetition of that then is the same again, or this time working more with flexibility if you can grab for the toes, so you have the external force of the hands reaching for the feet. So hands reaching the feet or not. Inhaling, lifting the chest, and then if there's room for movement in the thighs, the feet push back into the hands. Again, gaze stays pretty neutral, lengthening through the crown of the head. Keep the action of the thighs, so feet pressing back into the hands, also hugging the inner thighs towards each other as you press back. Trying not to allow the knees to splay out wide here. So again, keeping the integrity and strength and stability around the pelvis. One more inhale breath. Exhaling, come down and rest. Rocking the hips. Bring the hands back to more to the side of the rib cage as we prepare to press from the floor into upward facing dog. Engaging the thighs, press the feet down. On your next inhale breath, push down through the palms, shoulders press back. Lifting up, thighs strong, tummy strong. Holding here a couple of breaths. So again, the whole body works together to hold this pose with strength and ease. One more big inhale breath. Exhale, pull the belly in so you round back through the spine to downward facing dog. From here, when you're ready, inhaling, kicking your right heel high. Exhaling, bending the right knee forward. We're going to pivot at the hip, lowering that front shin down for pigeon pose. So for many of us, for most of us, for a lot of us, front shin diagonal with the front line of your mat will bring you into enough of a stretch. We'll work this as a strengthener to start with, and then we'll bring it into a nice big hip stretch. So releasing the toes of the back foot, but staying strong through the back leg. So you press down through the top of the foot, knee lifts up. Then from here, root down through the front shin. Again, if you're new to this side of the pose, keeping your fingertips down, or you can have the hands on blocks. Otherwise, if you can grab some airtime balancing here, keep pressing down through the muscle of this front leg, or muscles of this front leg. Hands maybe come to the hips, squaring the hips just like we did in Warrior One. And if you really wanted to work the arms hard, you can inhale and stretch the arms above the head. Taking just a couple more breaths here. And then fingertips release down, maybe a little wriggle from side to side as you kind of now can sit down into this front hip. Again, without the, excuse me, the main intention just sitting the hip down. So you don't want to, with the intention of getting the hip low, kind of roll off and then you're all kind of wonky through the pelvis. So keeping the hip bone of the back leg turning down towards the floor, and then we're going to fold forward and sink into the stretch. So maybe for you that's sitting with onto your elbows with your head up, lengthening through the spine. If it's comfy to bring the crown of the head down to rest on the floor, or sorry, the forehead down to rest on the floor, then come down and rest, and we'll just take about 10 breaths here. So allowing everything to slow down now. It's been quite a slow flow anyway, but just starting to ease our way into stillness. So still big, expansive inhale breaths, long, slow exhale breaths. So really surrendering into this stretch. Trying to let any residual tensions in this right hip go. So just a few more breaths here. If you really need to back out sooner, then please do. And when you stay in this stretch for a bit longer, it definitely intensifies. So take it really slowly as you start to press up onto the palms. Tucking the back toes under, lifting the back knee up. Press down through the palms as you slowly sweep that leg out behind you, just as we started. And then bending that right knee and turn the hip open, just like we've done in Warrior Two, in Half Moon Pose, so as if you were trying to kick your left bum cheek here. And then your next inhale, straighten that leg behind you. Exhaling, release the foot. Inhale, kick the left heel high. Exhaling, bending that knee forward, turning from the hip joint, so you lower the shin. Most probably diagonal to the front edge of your mat, then back leg slides back, but we're staying buoyant to start with, so we're still going to stay in control to begin in this front leg. So releasing the back toes for this variation, but still engaging through the back leg. So you press down through the top of the foot, knee lifts up, so you're strong here, then you're strong here, flexing through the toes of the front foot, root down through the shin. Excuse me. Squaring your body forward, you can stay supported, fingertips down to the floor. Hands can maybe come to the hips, and then you're still quite close to the ground. If you fall, you're just going to fall on your bum, so it's not a long way to fall down. So hands to hips is your second point to hold, or really intensifying, taking the arms above the head. Keep squaring the chest forward, taking just a couple more deep breaths. And then hands come down, rock side to side if you need to, just to let the legs soften and relax. Holding forward, staying on your elbows. If you have access to a yoga block or pillow, you can bring your head down onto the block or pillow, or forehead down to the floor. Keeping the pelvis nice and square, and just relax here. Slowing your breathing. So now we're heading towards the close of our practice. The exhale breaths can start to really lengthen out. So big inhale into your belly, taking the breath up to the chest. Long, slow exhales. Good, this time to come out, we'll slowly press up onto the palms. We're going to tuck the back toes under, kicking our way back into three-legged dog as you breathe in. Bending the knee and stack the hip, just releasing that stretch. Still pressing strongly through the palms. And then we're going to really briefly move back through that pigeon pose on the left side and just swing the back leg forward. Straightening both legs out in front of us. Still staying with a little bit of strength work and front body opening before our final stretches. So we'll come into Dandasana now, just to kind of neutralize, lengthening through the legs, flex the toes back towards you. So Dandasana, again, doesn't look like much, but just bringing the hands down by your hips, press down through the palms, sit up tall, take 2 breaths here. So maybe you stay with that and just work the strength of posture here, or you can step the hands a little further forward, so hands come kind of middle point of your thighs, and maybe we'll have a little play with a floor up arm balance. So tipping forward here, as you tip forward, press down through your hands. So it's more like finding the balance levers here. So hands a little further forward, tip the chest forward, Push down through the palms. If possible, maybe lift the hips. Maybe just work that, lifting one leg and then the other, or if you can grab some air time, lift the heels and breathe. Bum drops down. Good. From here then, hands will go back this time, heading into reverse tabletop and then reverse plank. So about a step, a foot step behind your bum. First one, we're going to bend the knees, feet hip width apart, inhaling, pushing through the palms, pushing through the feet, lifting the hips high. So we'll keep the fingers pointing forward or the hands pointing towards the feet. As you lift the hips, head can drop back very slightly. So a big stretch on the front of the arms here. Keep squeezing the bum. Good, big breath in. Exhaling, releasing the hips down or sweep them back. Finding that little L sit again maybe. Feet come down, lift the hips through again. So you're either sticking with reverse tabletop, lifting the hips up, or this time reverse plank. So just intensifying the stretch slightly. Point the toes, lift the hips, gaze is up. One more inhale breath, exhaling, slowly release the hips all the way down to the floor. Extending the arms forward as you inhale. On the exhale, we're going to start to sit back, maybe scooting the heels in and holding this modified boat pose with the heels down to the floor. Or you can lift the feet halfway, squeezing the thighs into the belly, or legs can straighten. 5 deep breaths. So almost like you were trying to close a book. So the thighs draw in, belly returns, squeezing in against the thighs. I know the gymnasts hate flex feet, I got told when I got trained by gymnasts, but I do find flex feet helps me to be strong through my legs, so flex or point, whatever you prefer. One more big inhale breath, and then exhaling, we're going to lower all the way down onto our back. So as slowly as you comfortably can. So if your heels were down, maybe you grab the back of your thighs, or if you feel a weakness as you get to this point, elbows can dig down into the floor. Slowly, slowly, finding your way down onto your back. Inhaling, stretching the arms up overhead and point the toes. Exhale, hug your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms over your shins. Little rock from side to side. Good, so probably at the warmest point in our practice. So we'll take a little bridge pose, potentially pressing into full wheel from here. So feet down, heels just behind your bum. Arms beside you, resting into the floor. As you inhale now, just like we've been trying to do in most of the back bends, finding that rolling up through the spine. So rolling up bone by bone. Having the natural curve of the back of the neck away from the ground here. You can either, if it's available, interlace the hands behind or underneath the bum. Or you can bring the hands over beside the ears. So to get my hair out of my way. Again, there's a lot of kind of science to this. I try not to talk too much because I know I already do talk a lot. But there is a lot of different ways you can practice getting into this pose for the first time. So if hands right beside your ears is restrictive because you know that you're quite inflexible in your shoulders, but you're strong, then take your hands wider with the fingers maybe turning to face the side edge of your mat. So this just helps getting you into the rotation, the external rotation at your shoulders. So have a play, feel free to pause the video. So you either have the fingers pointing to your shoulders or you can widen your stance and turn your fingers to face the side edges of your mat. Personally, I come to tippy toes, whether it's right or wrong, gives me the space to get up. So you can stay flat on your feet if you have the strength and the mobility. Otherwise, then I prefer coming up onto my tiptoes, so press to the crown of my head, squeeze my elbows in, shrug my shoulders back, and then press down to come up and give myself a couple of breaths, integrating my shoulders, then I can lower the heels. Good. So eventually, big shoulder opener, chest presses back, head turns towards the ceiling, tucking the chin in to roll down. Good, so that's just one go. We'll rock the knees from side to release. So definitely not my strongest point. I have tight shoulders, which is why those modifications for the arms are super helpful and make the pose much more accessible. Even if your elbows are really bent to start with, which mine were just a few years ago, so I'm getting there slowly. So rocking the knees out here, just releasing the lower back. We'll inhale into a full body stretch again, and then exhaling to bring the knees into your tummy. A little rock from side to side. As you can see, I'm pretty close to the radiator, so we're going to twist on either side, and I'll just go both times to my right. So breathing in to release the arms out to the side of you on the floor, and then breathing out, knees rock over to your right. Head turns, if possible, to look towards your left hand on the floor. Inhaling to draw the knees back to center, and then exhaling, you're going to your left. I don't have the room, so I'm going back to my right. But knees to the left, head turns towards the opposite hand on the floor. So if you ever find here that your shoulders rock way off of the floor in order to get your knees down, then press the head back into the floor, scooch your shoulders one way so that you can get your shoulder blades grounded as much as you can, even if that means having your knees up a little bit. So just trying to keep the twist in all of the correct points of the spine. So really most of our twisting motion is from the bottom of the thoracic spine, so just at the back of the lower part of the rib cage. So you want to keep too much twist out of the lower back. Inhaling to come back to center. Exhale to kick your heels towards the ceiling. So you can just hang out here for a few deep breaths. Nice restorative inversion to close. Or if you're familiar with shoulder stand, then we'll take a little shoulder stand here. So arms beside you, using the resistance of your arms pushing down into the floor. And then when you're ready, rocking the hips up, hands come immediately to your lower back. And then just let the legs hang in the air here. So again, naturally we find ourselves in Jalandhara Bandha as your chin tucks into your collarbones here. So this one is really good for stimulating the thyroid if you have an underactive thyroid, which I have slightly underactive. So I always try and do a few inversions at the end of practice. So breathing here. And a nice big counter then for full wheel pose is plow pose. So slowly, if you're comfortable to go there, the toes can come to the floor behind the head, or your midway point is knees in towards the forehead, so you kind of tuck in. So obviously I'm moving my head here, but please try not to move your head too much, although you might be trying to look at the screen as well. Trying to keep your head as still as you can here. If your toes do go comfortably to the floor, then still try not to just kind of sink into the spine. So you're still trying to lift your butt up towards the ceiling, so you're not just collapsing and rounding here, but you're rounding intentionally. Maybe eventually the hands interlace behind the bum. Hands come back to the lower back if they left. Releasing the feet back to the ceiling. If you went into plow pose, come back to shoulder stand. Now to come out with control, again, you might know how already, so just come out. Otherwise, I always instruct legs go a little head heavy, so you have the means to comfortably take the hands away from the lower back, and then curling down, so resisting through the arms, so arms press into the floor, tummy muscles squeeze, thighs work as well. So almost like you're finding that compression of thighs in towards your body. Then the heavier your hips get to the ground, the more your arms work to resist against that. Curling down through the spine. Giving the knees one last squeeze in towards the chest. Maybe a brief happy baby if you feel like you need that last little hip opener, release of the lower back. So just working to bring the spine back into neutral. And then from here we'll find our way into Shavasana. So you can slide the legs out long and just be in this nice relaxed starfish shape, or if you want to keep a bit of hip opening going, you can have soles of the feet together, knees wide. And then the eyes can close here. If you go with reclined cobbler's pose, this position, it might feel really intense after a few breaths, so just slide out and release when you're ready. So again, bringing your awareness to your breath, feeling the rise and fall of your tummy and your chest with each inhale and each exhale. Big nourishing inhalations and long detoxifying exhalations. Feeling like the body gets heavier and heavier with each out breath. The muscles more and more relaxed with each out breath. And the mind quieter and quieter with each out breath. So for you watching and doing the video, please stay in your Shavasana for as long as you comfortably can, as long as you have the time for. And if you drift off and fall asleep, great. If not, just continuing to focus your awareness on your breathing. When you're ready to come out, then you can just treat it like waking up first thing in the morning. So stretching how you need to. If you need a little twist from side to side, allow the movements to be really intuitive before pressing your way back up to sitting. So if you lasted this long, it was a slow and strong practice, so thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to post more regularly, which I always say, but I hope to post more regularly, and I'm hoping to bring pregnancy yoga soon as well. So please subscribe, find me on Instagram, Facebook, Kerry Kersen Yoga, and my music on Spotify, Kerry Louise Kersen. Have a great day. Namaste.